Hey peeps, Pinkolol16 here on another video of my own to commentate over. We're up to part 4 of the Curse of Invincibility frames, which is the beginning of Arc 2 in the Star World bit, which is admittedly a very short portion, but longer than the other short portions. Arc 3 is actually the longest arc in this bit, and that's mainly because that took a long time between parts because of what I had planned to do, which didn't exactly turn out very well because not many people happened to know what was going on. I wanted to incorporate fans, but literally nobody submitted their color codes. A lot of people did, but I'll get to that when we get to that. So this is the intro for Arc 2. And that was the biggest fail on my end ever. And this cutting is on purpose because it's supposed to be musically synced. All of the intros are supposed to be musically synced in some way because I like musically synced stuff. I actually haven't played Mario Party, and I haven't seen this, but I did hear the song from like one of Mario's videos and really liked it, so I decided to use it in an intro. This intro is basically describing we meet the Star World characters and then we help them in their world. This is what's going on. I'd say this is the most accurate depiction of what happens because last time Akin was hit in the intro, and that doesn't happen in Arc 1. Oh, but that's just supposed to be, oh yeah, that's someone getting hit, that's supposed to be the point. I tried using the proper Star World texture pack this time, take note Starman 3, but the proper Star World texture pack happens to have Mario in the sky, which is really darn weird. There were a lot of elements of Starman 3's and Mario's videos that I wanted to try and incorporate, but better, because they did it so they either did it very minorly or terribly. In Starman 3's cases, that most of them were terribly. So I wanted to try and incorporate them in a better fashion, and that they're better integrated as part of the world instead of just being there. Now, this is particularly weird because someone would be like, hey, didn't the adventure actually happen in that world? Yes, it did, but in a different way. The adventure was, like, filmed and then put online in, like, some sort of, like, recount sort of thing, while the actual adventure actually happened. A sort of weird thing that happens like that. Most people would just write it off as, hey, the vids and the actual events happen at once, in cartoon logic like that. The reason is because it will hurt, and I'm worried about the Invincibility frames bit. I'm trying to reference his videos to give them a proper continuity in my world, but, you know, his videos would be completely scrambled anyway. I needed to get Akin out of the scene since he's not going to talk anymore, so there's no point in him being here. Nobody needed to see that. By the way, there's like 15 outtakes of this particular scene that I had to do. So, it took a very long time to film this scene. Also, I had to ask, Starman3 for the actual ROM that actually does this. So, yeah. It's fancy editing shenanigans because when you actually go inside, you jump out of the pipe in the same place, so... I have no idea where he got it from, but it's a really good ROM. Also, this is not parallel to each other. What the hell was I thinking? But I wanted both of us to stare at each other before me and Blue left. They wanted to relax with Bleeperland. See, this is fancy editing shenanigans. And of course I couldn't get creative with angles there. Yeah, I'm trying to explain counterparts to him in terms of my series and this logic. And have the slash actually as a word. It's to maintain a balance, which Starman3 clearly didn't care about when he made the multidimensional road counterparts. Yeah. Which is what I make sure to mandate in the series. Everyone must have a balance. Everyone must have an equal amount of counterparts. Even if they don't like it, they have to because it's part of the lore and story of the world. If there isn't a balance, there will be a lopside and the world will just collapse. And again, with Stario, I did the same thing I did with Mario. I read the lines out loud in Mario's voice, and the Mario voice that I can only pull off, which is really terrible, by the way. And I made sure to properly put the A's where they're supposed to be, but... So they're not randomly placed. I read this out loud and did it, but some might not be too fond of that because, oh yeah, it's stereotypical and stuff. Mario is basically stereotypes anyway, so... But in this story, I basically decided to place the A's where in the actual sounded version it would make sense. Again, this takes place before I leave, even if part 3 was the last part that I made before I left. In actuality, part 4 and afterwards is when I left. But I still made it in the same time because the story, when I release a part has no bearing on the story contents. The story, if that were true, once upon a time stories wouldn't exist. I'm trying to mention Moonworld because, as I mentioned in the beginning video of this channel, I tried to incorporate aspects of this series where I'm aware of these bits, you know, where I'm just aware of these bits while having heard of them in some other fashion because I explained it before. I've watched Mario Mori's vids, which can be pretty ambiguous in this world, but since I know of that experience and explain that experience, it's not like I suddenly have no idea of what's going on. I know what's happened here. Even if I haven't been a part of it, I've seen what's gone on, and that relates to the experience in the story. And these particular character lines where other characters comment on this is also important because I need to explain how much experience I have so then I don't look like an idiot. I make these giant paragraphs. I would change this later on where I would have two script lines over with two parts of the line. So what I'm basically saying here is that Vindimka is going around the dimensions, spreading the energy so that invincibility frames become a danger to everybody. So if you get hit, you'll get trapped instead of the things protecting you. And that we tried to stop him at home, but then he came here for some reason. For some reason, oh yes, to get more energy, which is part of the plot. Yeah, I am the creator of this thing. The whole point of it being a curse is because it's something that's in the world of the characters biologically determined by them. So the fact that they even have it is a curse on this adventure to begin with. So it kind of works like that. More musically synced stuff. You can't tell the difference between them, but the star characters will go Star Rio, then Star Regi. There's no other characters that will take place in this. Oh, that didn't even take that long at all. This is an important scene, so I decided to make them stay here. He's actually really high up in the sky, which is why he's really small. Depth perception! Simon had this weird thing where he didn't want anybody to involve Trollbu in anything because they overused him and they didn't want him to become like the next Scatman or something, so nobody wanted to include him in anything. But I thought it's worth it to include him in this because everyone needs to be included in this kind of adventure where it's going to affect everywhere, so I needed him to be there. So instead of him being in the Mushroom Kingdom / Group Land dimension, I thought, hey, let's put him in the Star World instead. So he somehow ended up here and is just chilling here. That contributed to him coming here, having a break from everybody. Although Starman 3's method of a break was stupid and completely started retconning stuff, so... That's supposed to... It's supposed to indicate, oh yeah, he just randomly fell from the sky. Like, onto the ground. He lost all his, floatiness. Although it's a very bad method of doing it, but... it's supposed to show he just fell for some reason. Due to the energy, really. And he's supposed to be on the ground, but because there's no real artwork of him, that you can't... Like, there's only one picture shot you can really do, and yeah, it really does show, and yeah, you want to put him on the ground or something where it just really doesn't work. I'm trying to say that he's having a hard time talking, but I can't word my script properly. So, what the thing does, the energy itself does, when the energy goes inside them, just imagine a polygonic Mario. Imagine the energy when they get hit by the invisibility frames, the energy goes inside them and then it makes them feel like they're compressed. But Troll Boo is a ghost, forever transparent, forever like that. So the energy is just constantly coming up inside and it's absorbing him, basically. Almost like it's just like forever coiling around him, just constantly being there around him. So that constant feeling of compression, and he doesn't even have invincibility frames. So it's like he's in a permanent state of invincibility frames, constantly getting the energy inside of him. So that's why he's losing strength, because he's getting heavier, essentially. With all the energy inside of him, he's losing his strength to float. Because the whole point, Troll Boo is supposed to be a jokester in my series. He's not meant to be a villain. He's an anti-hero in a sense. He's not meant to be a villain or someone that just is supposed to go away forever. He's a prankster, a trickster, but he's not meant to be like... He's a friend in a jokey way, a rival. That kind of person. So when he's in actual danger of actually legitimately forever dying instead of just being a ghost, that's why we're concerned. Because in the series, in my series, he's supposed to be a friend, sort of. That friend that's constantly sarcastic all the time, or whatever. So in a sense, he's Troll Boo because he's trolling sarcastically. It's not actually like legitimately trolling, like being mean or whatever. Because he'd be heavy and essentially he'd fade too quickly. I wanted to word this stuff differently. I'm trying to say something good might happen soon. I can feel it for some reason, and it'll happen in the next 2 seconds. And again, this is kind of weird considering I made this video after I left the group, so... But again, what happens in the story has no bearing on release date, and vice versa. He punched him across dimensions. So, yeah, that was... I wanted to try and put... I think that was through the elemental stars he has. That was supposed to be that. I gave them a new power because I needed the plot to progress. That's supposed to be Star E.G. These long script lines, I hate it. And no one saw him jump in because Jinda and Akino had already run off to Blooperland, so the pipe was basically left alone before it faded shortly after Starman 3 jumped in, so... And he beat us to the punch, so... Like, it was a little while after we jumped in and talked, and then it was during the first music video that he ran off to jump into the room. So, during those events, which would be a long time, so it's not like he randomly appeared out of nowhere. Even though, yes, to us, he randomly did appear out of nowhere, he's just explaining his origins now. And as a character, he's important because he needs to have a role in this sort of thing, and I thought, hey, let's give him a last moment of shine before I turn him into a joke, which will happen eventually. But that won't happen in this series before you start asking. Yes, again, like I said during the music video, there was a lot of time. They were just snippets. So he would have had time to go to the Star Road, see if the energy was there, and like he came here, saw Trollbrew, then went back to the Star Road to check if anything was going on there. Then came back to the Star World, and then punched him through as he did now. This was the scene I re-recorded after the whole thing had finished. I knew I needed to do something, and then I happened to do it. So this was recorded after the rest of the scene here. So what you're gonna see, this was like minutes after the next scene you're gonna see. So when you see Starman 3 talking soon, it'll be I recorded that scene before that one because I needed to re-record it. Something Starman 3 doesn't happen to do. Also, this is meant to show the weird thing that's going on where he's trapped in the the power-up box. He's trapped in there. He'll get out, don't worry, it's a joke. And yes, he's a ghost, he could get out. That's why the darn black loop is there. I should go to the Star Road again for the second time. He doesn't feel it's important right now to help us since we're on our own mission and he's on his own, apparently. Where and what? I never bothered because it's not important. He teleports behind the castle. Mansion, I guess. Mario's texture pack is the worst, honestly. That's supposed to be Star AG going away now. I wanted to show some coins beforehand. It's not exactly 100 coins, but I just wanted to show something. This scene in particular had to be re-recorded because of a weird glitch I have with my no HP code. So, with my no health meter code. So, this is actually the second rendition of this particular scene. The other version's in my bloopers, which I'll commentate on after part 16. Also, yes, they're apparently different. They're supposed to be our counterparts. This is exactly why nobody wants to use the Star World counterparts, because you can't tell them apart. And the whole point of that was because in Into the Fourth Dimension they needed to show that message in order to show them that the Star Road color codes are different. The Star Road color codes are supposedly different, and that looking the same wouldn't have mattered, but it is the worst decision you can ever think of when you're trying to make consecutive stories in this place, because all of the other counterparts can't even be featured because of Stario's limitation of the fact that everybody must be the same color code. It's the worst thing, honestly. Although we can apparently tell the difference in universe, so whatever. The one on the left is supposed to be my counterpart, the one on the right is supposed to be Blue's. Yes, voice. I put voice because even though this is text, I don't imagine them actually seeing the text above them as in like, oh, the text is actually there. I mean, I tend to think that the text itself is like actually them speaking. Which is why I also did the voice testing thing with Stario and Mario. Which is why I put the your voice thing there, because I don't think of them as, oh, the text is just flashing above them and they're reading it. I'm actually imagining them talking. I'm sure most tend to do that, but some others tend to think of it as the text actually appearing above them. I'm just warning those people that that's not the case here. I wanted to do a meeting scene without being stupid, but hey, it's relevant here because hey, I didn't even know it beforehand in the story. It's clear by this point, so that's specific wording. I wanted the meeting scene to be short because sometimes these meeting scenes go on forever. Again, I had to get creative with angles, and I imagine that Stario was like literally over here. This is supposed to be Starman 3's counterpart, which you would have already seen in his and Mario's videos. I can't spell presents properly, and that's probably the only typo I've ever made in this darn thing. At the time, I thought the spelling was correct. So. But yes, apparently they can tell each other apart by having some kind of different presence or something, which Stario demonstrated beforehand, which we specifically can't tell apart for some stupid reason. This ties into the fact that Vindimka is not even here anymore, and we're just slowly following him. And in fact, he's completely gone back home to affect the Star World counterparts, which is affecting the home counterparts. Essentially, what's happening is linked. So what's well, let's just put this in a random scenario. Say Star World Man 3 can't get in a painting. That's because Starman 3 and his other counterpart, Starman 4, can't get in a painting because hey, something's happened. That's why. That's not what's going on in the story, but that's what's going on. I wanted to make sure that this linkage between counterparts was more than just, hey, their name and some events that have happened to them in the past. That this thing is actually happening to them live as they see it, as they experience it. So like me and my counterpart and my other counterpart all are technically linked in a certain fashion that forces us to stay the same. So if we're trapped in some other world, so are we, because the other counterparts, because we're not. We're them, essentially. It was pretty vague on Mario's terms. Mario would just say, oh yeah, some events have happened in the past that are similar in certain worlds, that Luigi and 4EG in the fourth dimension had similar events that happened to them in the past. But, and like when Mario got possessed, what was it? Quario and had just fainted in the middle of the place, and like I think Stario had fainted as well. I wanted it to be more than just that. I wanted it to show that these events actually do happen live and they do mean something to the characters. I came up with a second name for them, and I guess it worked. I don't remember their other name, but whatever. I think I comment on it in part 5, so I think you'll see it anyway. I clarify thoughts because I'm not speaking this out loud. So what I'm saying here is basically the cause of what I explained before. Mario had said in the previous part that nobody was inside. So everyone, or some of the people, are in the levels. So they're trapped, and they're causing reactions to the Star World people as a result of them being trapped. They can't get in the paintings because, for some reason, something else is affecting their counterpart in another world. And it is legitimately affecting all of the other rangers in the Star World. Because they're the same people. But I don't want to put, in all of these things, I don't want to pull what most series tend to do when they incorporate some kind of dimension traveling gimmick where for some reason people can't touch each other, because if you do, the whole world will suddenly collapse. That's not what I like to do because it's stupid. He can do, Starman 3 can get in because Starman 3 himself is perfectly fine. That was the worst ending ever. But that's part 4. So we end off on, hey, something's happened to the YouTube ranges, which is affecting the Star Tube ranges, I guess. Anyway, see you, have a good day, peace, and I'll see you in part when I commentate.